Let's do it. All right. So Brooks Austin interview for the mentor assignment I have at Full Sail University. I do appreciate you jumping on with me, man. It's an honor to finally, be able to meet you and I guess officially say that you're like my online mentor. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, no doubt, man. I'm glad to be here.
So my first question is, and obviously I'm going to take notes while you're talking as well. I want to try to hit the high points and make sure that I can remember.
Hey, man, that's why you're recording it, dog. Zoom's got you. You're good.
So, at what point did you realize you wanted to be in this career, and how did you get started? Kind of a two-question gopher at the start.
So I graduated with a master's in business administration, undergrad in business as well. So I came out with a business degree, got into the business field, was a project manager in construction, and about 3 months and about at that point $80,000 worth of education. After about 3 to 6 months working my quote unquote day job, I realized, yeah, this ain't for me. I hate this. I always wanted to talk. I always, loved sports like everybody else. Always was blessed with a voice that I thought people wanted to hear, or at least that's what my brain told me. And at some point in this industry, you got to have a little bit of narcissism to think you're going to make it, because it's so rare that people actually do quote unquote make it. So I was blessed enough to have the narcissism to think I could do this, to think I can make this happen. And additionally, the work ethic. I worked an entire job for 4 years while also doing media, working it as a full-time job. A lot of people don't see that. They just see you on camera. They see you on your website. They see you on Twitter. They see you on social media, but you're also running your other life. I was doing that for a long, long time. And the more and more I talk to people in this industry that have quote unquote made it, they got the same stories, man. We all were working day jobs while we were trying to create a space or create a foothold in this industry. So yeah, man, I got out of college intending to be a businessman. Hated being that type of businessman in terms of sitting in an office or punching a clock. So I've created my own business through journalism and through media aspects.
Nice. That's incredible. That's kind of the spot that I'm in. I've worked logistics for the last 8 years, and it's great. I love it. Like I do enjoy what I do. But I love sports more. And, we talked earlier, if I could do what I love forever, then it's not working today. What was the hardest part about, I would guess, leaving your day job and kind of taking that leap of faith, but in your own words.
No. Not quitting. Not quitting is the hardest part. I cannot tell you how many people graduate with marketing or, broadcast journalism degrees, or communications is my favorite, communications degrees from like prestigious universities. And then 3 months later, 4 months after graduation, they're taking a job as some marketing temp or using their degree in other aspects, because making it in this industry is so hard, or you're not making enough money and you're just cutting teeth and just grinding it out, that I can't tell you how many times I would end a podcast, or I would end an interview, or I would end something, or go to a camp or whatever it is. And I'd come home and I go, is this ever going to happen? And I would tell my wife, I was like, is this ever going to happen? Is this going to work out? Or should I just give up now and just be a regular day job guy the rest of my life and just swallow that pill? And every single time I wanted to quit, she would tell me, no, you're not doing that. You've made it this far. So that to me was the hardest part, telling the inner, because again, that even my narcissism, even my want and need to be on camera and to have my voice heard and confidence in my abilities. After a while, man, after 3 years of talking to a wall and having 110 downloads an episode on your podcast, and you're just like, this is never going to happen. This is not going to happen. So I wanted to quit so many different times, but just just to keep punching through that wall and just keep going and keep trying and keep doing and keep failing and then keep going and going and going. Man, that takes a lot of blatant ignorance to failure, honestly. And I think that's what I had for a long, long time. And it eventually paid off, man.
Yeah. So you just mentioned your wife there has kind of helped you keep motivated. Who was someone else that you might have seen in the industry or that influenced you to keep going, or who influenced you the most, I guess is the correct question there.
Yeah. So we don't actually have like a relationship, but I showed up to I used to listen to the Lefko and Sims podcast. It no longer exists. Chris Sims now works for NBC, and Adam Lefko now works for TNT, was working for Bleacher Report, and is now like the next Ernie Johnson is the way they're framing him. But he started out as a news anchor in Louisville, Kentucky, and he did something super, super creative in terms of he was just being a sports anchor, but he did it to like rhymes one day, like famous Tupac songs. And then the next day he would come in and he did only like 90s family sitcom references whilst doing sport. Like brilliant dude. And he was hosting this podcast, and I'd kind of studied up on his journey. And I was listening one morning, and they were doing a live event at the Super Bowl in Atlanta. I think that was the Rams and Patriots Super Bowl, the 10-3, horrible Super Bowl. Nonetheless, they were hosting an event, and they had free tickets for listeners. So I was like, well, heck yeah, I'm going. I'm just going to go because I want to do this. The Super Bowl's in Atlanta. I want to be in media. At the time I was covering the NFL draft, I was like, this is a course option. So I show up, and they're in an intermission. I showed up like an hour early. I met Chris before because they were doing sound checks, and he was in line to get a coffee. So I pretended to go get a cup of coffee and chatted him up in the line, introduced myself, things like that, told him I was interested in it. I'll never forget, as he walked away, he remembered my name after like a 7-minute conversation. I thought that was super impressive because I'm terrible with names, but he remembered my name. Long story short, intermission time, I'm talking to Adam Lefko, and I asked him the same question you asked me just now. What's a piece of advice? How can you make sure you're doing what you need to do to make it in this industry? And you know what he said? It was so simple, but I to this day, until about a year ago, I've lived by it. Never say no, like ever in this industry. If you want an opportunity, anytime anyone gives you something, never say no. To this day, you know where I was yesterday? Yesterday at 5 o'clock, I drove to Norcross High School or Norcross Middle School at a public like field where they were playing soccer. And over in the corner, Marcus Howard was working out defensive lineman, former Georgia defensive end, had the big hit in the Sugar Bowl a while back. He was working out defensive lineman. And just so happened an 8th grader, Tyler Atkinson, was there. That dude's going to be like the #1 player in America in 2026. And guess what? We now have a relationship. And when I go to cover him, I'll get access to him at a lot easier rate than anybody else. I didn't say no to Marcus saying, hey, come watch this workout, even though I've seen 100,000 workouts at this point. Even to this day in my line of work, the never say no model has worked. But eventually you got to start saying no because there's a lot of opportunities and you only have so much time. But like this, I would never say no to anything like this because I remember what it felt like to, hey, man, I'm so-and-so. I run such and such podcast. Will you come on? And you send that to 900 people. It's no different than cold calling in business worlds where you're calling a bunch of people in ad marketing sales. They don't want none of your business. They don't want none of your time. You're wasting theirs. So like, I understand that, which is why I never say no now when it comes to opportunities like this. So I'll never forget Adam Lefko. I know he's forgotten me a long time ago. And maybe one day we'll bump into each other at an awards gala when I'm getting a Marconi or something. I don't know.
While we're on that, actually, so I do have some entertaining questions per se that because I want to get to know you a little bit better too. I mean, the only way I know you is through social media and things. Who's your favorite player that you've met, whether coming up or already in the league or in college? Who's your favorite player you've had contact with? Doesn't necessarily have to be a football player too. It could be.
It could be recency bias, but Jordan Davis is a phenomenal human being.
He seems like a good dude.
Just like, you ever meet someone and you walk away and you just by being around them feel like a better person, like somehow morally you got more competent. That's how Jordan feels. Like Jordan has this, just being around him makes you a better person. It's very, very weird. Weird's the wrong word. It's very unique. It's very special, and it'll never not impact you, if that makes sense.
Yeah. What's the most bizarre situation you've ever been in your career in journalism? I was interested in this.
For me, because I'm really, really strongly opinionated, anytime someone takes offense or misconstrues what I'm saying about them, or particularly their children, like, because what I do is a lot of evaluation based. I don't I don't, I can't use that word. I don't mess around. I don't lighthearted. I was going to say pussyfoot. I don't pussyfoot around when it comes to my evaluations on players, particularly college football players. So high school players, I'm a lot easier on them because they're high school players. I don't like to be negative on them. But in college, you're held at such a high standard. I evaluated a high standard. So that to me is the most awkward situation I'm put in. Or when, you know, yeah, that for sure. When a parent confronts me about something, or, you know, hey, why didn't you come see my kid, or anything like that? That's always awkward. But that's not an interaction that everyday journalists have. Like that's an interaction that recruiting analysts, guys that give opinions, guys that are on camera quite often, guys that are on radio spewing hot air. Like, I do a lot of talking. There's going to be something that I say that someone disagrees with, or feels that was pointed in some type of way towards them, to which causes offense. Those are always the worst.
You don't have to get into this one just in depth, just a quick answer here. Do you feel like it's more so, since social media has blown up, more so Twitter, because obviously you see people going back and forth on Twitter and things. Do you feel that more confrontation comes from Twitter, or is it actually in person?
Oh, so no. I've actually had confrontations with, like, particularly like media people on social media, and then I see them in person and it's a total different reaction. But that is a microcosm of our entire culture nowadays. Like, people's attention spans are shorter due to social media. People's in-person interactions are completely different than their online persona. Like, that's a microcosm of life nowadays. Like that, and I have altered my business and such. I know that your attention span is short. Matter of fact, if anyone's listening to this interview, unless they're grading it, they probably stopped after like 7.5 minutes, honest to God. And they went and did something, or they scrolled through their phone. You're not holding anybody for anything nowadays, because they're constantly scrolling on Twitter, because they're condensed to 140 characters throughout their day-to-day lives. Like, you're not holding anybody's attention. So social media has impacted both the way we interact with human beings, but also the way that journalism is conducted. You'll see a lot of people, the first way they go about business of reporting, and the first way to break news nowadays, if I break news on my website, if I break an article on my website, but someone tweets it before I get the article to Twitter, the rest of the world thinks that person broke the news, when in reality, they really just lost money because they had the news break on Twitter and not on their website that they control ad impressions on. You see what I'm saying? So, like,
and go ahead and drop your website name too, if you don't mind. I want to drop. Social media.
So I run Dawgs. Yeah, I'm the lead editor of Dawgs Daily on SI.com. So yeah, that's where I'm at. But I'm also on Patreon.com/Brooks Austin. I'm in a whole bunch of different places.
Yeah, you can find him. If you ask me, I know where to find him too. I follow him a lot of stuff. He follows my Bulldogs, go Dogs. We're in there all day, every day. So in the industry, obviously I know what you do, but the people that see this, some of the people that see this don't know necessarily what you do. So I feel like I know the answer to this question already, but I'm excited to hear from you. What do you feel like you do differently that gives you an edge in the industry?
I do it all. And I don't say that arrogantly. But like, if someone were to ask me what my job title is, what do I do? I tell them I'm a media personality that covers the University of Georgia. But I also cover the state of Georgia as the lead recruiting analyst for SI All American. I'm also the face of our video content. I'm also the lead editor. I also host at least an hour of radio or 2 hours of radio every single week on 680 The Fan. So I'm a radio personality. I also write. Right? I also shoot all of our photos. I also edit all of our videos. You see, like that, I think that's what's different about me, but it wasn't an option, right? When I first got into this space, I was given a platform and saying, hey, your payment, your success, and your lifestyle is dependent upon how big you can make this thing. And that's all. Like, the Maven Coalition approached me and said, you can write for Georgia Tech, or you can cover Georgia. And I said, well, duh, we're going to cover Georgia, right? So at that point in March of 2019, I'm given a website with a URL that is no longer currently our URL. My original URL on my website was maven.io/college/Georgia. Every single place I would go, I would say, I'm Brooks Austin with SI's Bulldog Maven. And people would look at me and go, what in the hell's Bulldog Maven? It happened for a year. Okay. So again, it wasn't always Brooks Austin, Dogs Daily, SI, the film guy, patreon.com. That is also different about me. I'm not just Brooks, the beat writer for SI.com. I'm Brooks, the beat writer for SI.com, the lead editor for SI.com, the lead photographer for SI.com, over on the Georgia site. I have a YouTube base, right? We have a podcast. We have, like, it's just a long list of them, right? It's not just one thing. And to me, I'm a big guy of like trying to find the root of like where it comes from. I know where that need to want to do it all comes from. Because as a business major, right, as a master in business, I look at it and say, well, if I'm going to run a business, which is what I do, my media personality is my business, how I make income. I have to create a multitude of streams, right, of streams of income. I have to pull it from YouTube. I have to pull it from SI.com. I have to pull it from Patreon that I created, the subscription model, right? I have to pull it from YouTube just to survive. Because if you look around, bro, this space is dying slowly. Twitter killed it. Okay, because everyone reports on Twitter. We all report on Twitter. Twitter does not pay me. I have not one time received a check from Twitter. Never. And you never will. So that's the difference, that we're all over the place, but it requires a bunch of work ethic. Okay. It requires, the ability to train yourself to pick up all these things. I didn't know how to write when I got out of school. I knew MLA format. That was the format we wrote in business school, MLA. I had to learn APA, and I'm still horrible at it, right? But I'm a good businessman, but I'm not a great writer. It's something that I had to train myself to do. I was always a good talker, and I was always figuring out how to make money growing up, but I never really wrote cleanly. And those are things that I had to figure out. I took a very non-traditional path to this, a completely non-traditional path. I still do it differently. I'm not on campus every day. I live in Woodstock, Georgia. I have no beefs about telling people that. I'm not on campus every day. You don't see me out there every day. I cover the Georgia Bulldogs from a distance, and I think I do it really, really well.
Yeah, I think so too. Like I said, I keep up with a lot of your stuff. I mean, so in all of the things that you do and all the things that you have going on, getting your hands dirty with all of the tasks, how do you manage those every day? How do you figure out what's the important thing at the moment to do then?
Everything. I write down everything. Absolute. But the problem with me is, and it's the reason why I don't think I could ever have had a boss, a direct boss, a guy that I report to, or a guy or girl, excuse me, that I report to every single day. I have that in my wife. I have to give her my schedule every day. But in terms of, I wake up in the morning and I develop the content strategy plan for SI.com. I sit down and I decide what I want to do on our YouTube platform, because we're YouTube daily, because we have sponsorships that we have to meet out. Again, ads that we sell, I sell, businessman. Okay. So all those things I kind of do sporadically throughout the day. I'm in this lab, my studio that I built. All this is just cardboard, bro. Like this was built in the driveway, dog. Like this ain't fancy. This is old school. These lights that you see in the corner, they're bought off Amazon for $7. Okay. All this stuff is just a muse. And the camera's really, really nice. And the microphone's really, really nice. The sneakers cost more than the set. Okay. So
wait, let's stop there, because I know you're a big sneaker guy. What's your favorite shoe? I know you're a Jordan guy. This is the question I wanted to ask you. So you did this.
Honestly, my daily, I call sneakers, like I have a daily driver, right? And so hold on. These low top Blazers, and they're beat to hell right now because they're my daily drivers. These are my daily drivers. I work out in the high top Blazers. Give me 1 second. So you asked me my favorite. These are definitely my favorite right now. These like mocha, and they got like a pink lining on the inside of them. Mm-hmm. Those are bad. And then always the cool gray, the top ones.
So you like the ones, right?
Yeah, almost exclusively. I'm a ones 3s and 11s and 13s got. Those are bad. Those also cost about $450, I would imagine.
These were the when Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse was released. These were the shoe that Miles Morales wore in the movie, and when they released them, I bought them like immediately. I've only worn them like 3 times, and they stay in the box. So I'm really lucky that I got you.
Yeah,
I got you today because I was able to show you those.
I got a pair of Flints. They're Jordan 13s. Okay, they look like they're called Flints because they're Flintstone editions, but I think when I purchased them, they were north of like $600. I was like 18. Okay. First pair of Jordans ever. I think I've worn them 6 times. And I'm 27. So I've had them 9 years. I have worn them fewer times than they have been alive.
Yeah, no, I had to hit you with that because I know a lot on your video.
Yeah, no doubt.
That you post. You had a pair of Jordans that sat on your desk for a while. What was that pair? Do you remember that? Your last desk that you had?
Yeah, so I mean, I have a bunch of ones, bunch of low top ones. It might have been the Ken Griffey trainers that I bought from Cola Kicks. Those things are sick.
Maybe I think that's what it was.
But it was also what I went through the phase of like putting all the sneakers behind me. I had a shoe sponsor. I had a company that was paying to put shoes on my wall. So yeah, the sneakerhead was going to take the deal.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Another deal that I brokered, not even for the money, just for the sneakers. I was like, I'll walk up there, I'll get a couple pairs of sneakers. He might run ads for 2 months and pay for 6 pairs of shoes. But I got 6 pairs of shoes out the deal. And now we got a new advertiser that I don't need nothing from them. I just need their money and their support. So the sneaker deal was a sneaker deal. It was just give me the sneakers.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Ain't no shame in my game, brother.
Hey, take it where you can get it. Absolutely.
Yeah, no doubt.
So this one's a little more personal, but obviously, you played football in college, right? So setting aside your love for sports and football, what is your favorite part about the job? What is the other thing that drives you about the job?
So my dad made a bunch of money, still makes a bunch of money. Okay. Really successful businessman, owns his own business, really, really good businessman. But man, he has to work his ass off for that money. I mean, he is working 75 hours a week constantly since I was born. That's the way he's been rolling. The thing that I love most about my job is that I make a decent living and I do it from my home. I have a 19-month-old son that is running around this house. I got another one due. I got a baby girl due in July. And as long as I am successful in this industry, I get to be there every single day of their life. And that, I got goosebumps. I've never said it out. I've never really contextualized that.
I'll say you're
I got
goosebumps.
I got yeah. Thank you. No, I got goosebumps right now. Just saying that out loud. That is a gift, man. That is something that is not provided by very many fields. Now, the pandemic taught us that a lot of people can work from home. It really did. But this is different. I get to walk out of my office, which is just, man, it's a bunch of computer screens and a camera. Like, this isn't an office, man. I get to sit here all day, write about sports, watch sports, okay, talk sports. That's it. It's sports. And I get to take a break whenever I want. And I get to walk out that door and I get to see my little son and my wife. And then eventually I'll get to see my little baby girl. So like, that to me is the best part about this job. But you don't get to that without creating that. I mean, most people, like I said, for 4 years, man, 4 years, I think I worked 100-hour weeks. I think I slept 4.5 hours a night. Now I still sleep like 5.5 hours a night because I'm an idiot. I manufacture work. I was thinking about that the other day. Even when I don't have things to do, I manufacture them. I create work for myself all the time. But man, this now was the dream. It was the dream that I never thought was going to get accomplished. I accomplished it much faster than I ever thought I would. First of all, didn't come without trials and tribulations though. Cause like I said, for 4 years, I was treading water, dog, like treading water, working my backside off. And, you know, when my wife was pregnant, we had a real discussion. It was like a timetable. Like once I popped this thing out and we got babies, dog, like you're not working 100-hour weeks. You can get that out of your head. So, man, that's the best part about my job. But again, it ain't like that for a lot of people, man. There's a lot of people out here in this journalism space that got blue checks, dog. I ain't got a blue check. There's a lot of blue check folk out here.
Twitter, get this man a blue check, man. What's going on, dude?
There's a lot of blue check folk out here that have been journalists forever and they work side jobs just to get supplemental income. It's hard. I'm telling you, it's hard.
Yeah, I mean, I can vouch for what you do, man. Like everything you do, you're just real. Like anytime, that's what attracted me to the content that you release. I felt like, even though this is the first time we had ever talked, I felt like I knew you just from watching your videos.
It also scares the shit out of decision makers in my business. Dear God, do I scare them? I don't get sniffed around for other jobs, man. Like people don't call me because they want, you know, and it's not like I'm out here like being wild and crazy. I just like, if people have been cheating and paying players for decades, where there's FBI list long documents, I'm going to tell you, like, it's right here, dog. They've been cheating forever. And just saying that scares people. But that's the reality. Like, it's not, I'm not telling you something people don't know. That's not public information. There's FBI documents. Will Wade, the current head coach of the LSU basketball team, is on FBI wiretaps saying, name your price. How much do you need? So when I come out and say, you know, things like, I mean, gosh, they've been paying players forever. Wake up. People are like, is he allowed to say that? Is he allowed to say that? Is he allowed to tell people that? Yeah, you are. I am. But it's not, again, not easy to do that. It's I was very, very standalone-ish for a long time. I get a lot of, and you also be doing it the way I do it. You also have to be very, very willing for people to call you names, people to have vitriol towards you. Okay. Cause you're coming out with an opinion. You're different. You're standing on something. And not only that, you're not doing it in type. I don't do my opinion stuff in type. It's right here. You get all of my emotions. You get all of my thoughts. You get all of my feelings right there. And I tell you how I would tell you if you were sitting right in front of me and you and I were debating right here in the studio. I would have the same tone. I would probably be louder because I'm always in an argument. I want to be loud. That's just a bad habit. But no, I think it's just, I am very opinionated, but it comes with a lot of backlash, bro. It's not easy.
And I can see that too. You know, when you were talking about the paying players thing too, I thought about the Jimbo Fisher raising a stink saying, you know, oh, I know how those guys recruit. I could tell you stories. Yeah, I'm sure you could. Everybody's doing it. It's just,
yeah,
it like seeing his comments.
You mentioned Jimbo Fisher. You watched my latest YouTube stuff? Like, so you've heard the intro that we made, the R&B beat.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I haven't told anyone this. I told someone that a listener made it. They did, but I had the idea. I was listening to my podcast one day and I was like, dude, you have no intro. None. Like you do the 30-second ding dong thing that StreamYard has preset for you on the streaming software, but you have no intro. And then I got to thinking, dude, you make a bunch of weird noises during shows, like like things like that, especially when I'm watching film. And I texted a guy that I knew that subscribed to our platform that also happens to make beats. And I told him this idea. I said, I want a beat with the weird noises that I make. Can you make it happen? He said, give me 30 minutes. And he came back with it. And dude, I think we have the sickest. I smile every time I hear it. It gets me hype. I love it. Okay.
It's the people going.
It gets the people going. Okay. But the thing is, like, you'll have 60% of the audience that loves it. You'll have 30% of the audience that doesn't really give a shit because they're not there the first 30 seconds of the show anyways. And then you'll have the 10% of the audience that is oftentimes the most boisterous that will get in your YouTube comments and go, seriously, man, cut the shit with the intro. Just get to the show. And like, that's fine. That's fine. But to me, it's about taking the shots. You want to know what this industry is about, man? I tell people all the time, RIP to the Mamba. This is a Kobe Bryant industry, the person who takes the most shots and makes the most baskets will have the most success. Produce the most content, work the hardest, produce the most video content. It does have to be quality. It does have to be really, really good. But guess what? The first year you're getting up Kobe shots, you might look like Kobe did in his rookie year. You might be clanking game winners in Utah. Okay. If these things will happen, but eventually, bro, you'll be getting buckets. It's a Kobe Bryant industry. Get as many shots up as you can. That's a shot. That's me taking a shot. Dude, I put a green screen in here, put a fake mustache on my face, and pretended to do a fake video or coach's press conference because I thought it was funny how much coach speak these guys would give you. You know, like they stand up in a Zoom conference and I wrote the whole thing. I wrote all the jokes and some of them hit, some of them didn't. My mustache started falling off in the middle of the show. At that point, I'm going into full on actor mode, right? So like all these things make me unique. Dude, you think I love him. He's really, really good at his job. He's one of my friends. We talk all the time. You think Jeff Santel's putting a fake mustache on his face and going out there and doing a fake coach's press conference? No. In fact, when I sent him the idea for the bit, he tried to square it up. He was like, no. Take the mustache off and give me a real press conference like you would wish Kirby was talking. And I'm like, nah, dude, that's not the bit. The bit is the bit. You want me to be serious. I want to be funny for once because I've been serious for 8 months. Please let me try. But it was a shot. And a lot of people are scared to take shots, man. A lot of people are scared to take shots. They'll just sit there and they'll report like they've been taught to report. And that's fine. But there's a lot of people just doing it like they're taught, man. A lot of people doing it like they're taught.
And that, I mean, that adds in the personality too, like you talked about earlier, you know, putting your opinion out there, being truthful, being real. I mean, a lot of times to me, whether it's negative or positive, which that leads into a whole nother conversation of good, bad publicity is still publicity. You know, you have to put your opinion out there, put your personality out there and just let people react to it. Let them react to it. Let them see you.
My thing that I've always told myself was that what you're not going to have is no opinion about me, right? Whether you love me, right? Or whether you hate me, which there is a portion of even Georgia's fan base that's like, that guy's a douche. Like, I hate that guy because they don't know me. They don't pay attention to me. They might just catch me in passing. And in passing, I'm a da-bag. I promise you. In passing, I am. If you clipped 30 seconds of this interview, you could make me sound like one of the worst buttholes in the world. But if you listen to all 30 minutes of it, you'd be like, damn, he gave that guy 30 minutes. Yeah, I did. So it's up and down. And it's just, I don't know, man.
Yeah. So you actually answered one of my questions I had for you too, was as someone of my rookie level, you know, what kind of advice would you give me starting out? And I basically took what you just said is, you know, produce as much content as possible, take as many shots as possible, to have that Kobe mentality, and just, you know, basically is put your face in front of people as much as you can. And so I'm actually going to run with that as what I need to do as starting out. So I'm gonna skip that question. Or go ahead. If you want to answer it, go ahead. If you got something else, go ahead.
Rephrase the question. Rephrase the question. No, I know exactly what I would tell you. Here's what I would tell you.
All right.
Okay. It is the Kobe Bryant mentality, but the first thing you need to do is think about it like a business. Okay. Especially if you're entering the Georgia space, but whatever space you're entering, whether it's you want to cover the Atlanta Braves or whether it's you want to cover Georgia Bulldogs or whatever it is, you're entering a space where there are already other products. Okay. There are already other products on the shelf that have been selling it for a long, long time and been selling it really, really well. I think there's 7 or 8 big major publications that cover Georgia. Okay. And have been doing it since like 2000. So to enter in and even create a niche was really, really difficult. But the only way I did it was I pointed my aim. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I knew exactly what people were gravitating to. And as soon as I figured that out, I gave them as much of that as I could. So you'll notice, and I don't know where you're putting this, but you'll notice that it's not that I don't love women's sports. We don't cover women's basketball on our website. Hell, we don't even cover men's basketball because after a year and a half, my business model, my analytics, my data told me that if I wrote an article about Jake Camarda, the punter, I would make more money and I would get more ad impressions and I would do more page views than I would if I wrote about the girl who had just scored 40 points 4 games in a row. That, as a businessman, should I work harder to cover the women's sports? Yes. But I also have very limited time and I have to allocate my time to stuff that is monetizable. Okay. If you don't understand how to monetize in this world of internet journalism, you will die. You will die if you don't know how to properly monetize. Okay. Every piece of content that you do doesn't have to have sole purpose and only reason for being in the metaverse is to make money. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you don't need to be writing articles about the men's ping pong team when it takes you 25 minutes to do so, and you could have spent 25 minutes writing an article that might actually produce revenue.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Point your aim, know what your space is. My space was film. As soon as I figured out that I had something that nobody else did, by God, we built a whole studio for it. And we run everything. I bought the equipment for it. I bought the cameras for it. I bought everything for it because I knew that if I did this, we're good. If I do this, it's going to resonate with my target audience, which is all that matters.
Yeah, well, I mean, in your defense, if you covered Georgia basketball with Tom Crean being the head coach, you wouldn't have much to. That's another conversation. We don't have to go there.
You were sitting on that. I saw you biting your tongue. I was like, he wants to talk, but I'm gonna finish my point. That's not a bad joke. It's not a bad shout either.
As a Georgia fan, I got to throw rocks at Tom Crean right now because he's not winning basically anything. So, but like I said, that's a whole nother topic. Man, that was really everything that I wanted to ask you and pick your brain about. I was even going to throw in, tell me your process of how you create content, but you don't have to reveal your secret recipe if you don't. I know some people are particular
in terms of creative process.
Yeah.
That's what you want to know.
So you're the film guy, right? You break down film and basically help people that either have a high knowledge of football or a low knowledge of football, and you help them understand what's going on in the game. And you directly do that with the Georgia Bulldog football team. So I get where you have content there. So when you're coming up with when you have an article that you want to write, when you figure out, okay, this is my article that I want to produce and put out there, what's your process before you produce that?
Yeah. So there's always news. First of all, there's always something to cover. Okay. If you think there's nothing to do, like I said, I manufacture work, but that's good in this business. Okay. Because right now we just finished up the dead period of recruiting, right? In February, we have all of March, and in middle of March, about 14 days, they'll start spring practice, right? So this last month and a half, we've had no content in terms of no newsworthy stuff. I mean, a couple commits here and there, a couple coaching changes here and there. Those types of stories, they manufacture themselves. You will have to cover them, okay? So I put it this way, when it comes to when you actually have news, we can talk about creating content in a minute. When you actually have news, there's something, a buddy of mine named Mike Fisher, he doesn't call me a friend. I shouldn't say that. I should say a colleague. A colleague of mine, Mike Fisher, covers the Dallas Cowboys. He calls it using the entire buffalo, right? So when the Indians killed a buffalo, they wouldn't just eat all the meat, right? They would use the bones, turn them into spoons and knives and things like that, right? They would use the husk. They would use the mane, all that stuff for different things. They would use the hide for different things, right? So when, let's say, Jameson Williams says his comment yesterday, let's not even do that. When Jameson Williams goes down with an injury, right, during the national title game, if I were covering the Alabama Crimson Tide, we would have a Jameson Williams just got hurt article, right? Breaking news. Jameson Williams just got hurt. We would have a who replaces Jameson Williams article going immediately. We would have a reactions to Jameson Williams' injury. What this means, okay? You follow me? Like it's a trickle down effect, right? Because we're not just, you can't just take shots if they're not there. You have to make them, right? You got to dribble to the spot and get there. So That's what using the buffalo means. And that's how you have to go about content strategy. Okay. But it's very, very important to understand what your audience wants. And if you don't know what your audience is or what your audience wants, you're just throwing shit and hope it sticks against the wall. Like that's not it. That's not going to get you where you want to go. So the first year, man, I still to this day, I have Google Analytics on my phone. I got Google Analytics on my laptops. I got Google Analytics everywhere, which tracks how many people I got on my site, where the people are on my site, how they got there, how long they spent. I studied that joker from top to bottom for a year straight until I kind of know the metrics that I need, the metrics that apply to my business and how I need to go about making changes. So it's being intuitive about what works after we milk the buffalo dry, after we make sure everything's used. Now, in terms of creating content, okay, that's about being creative, man. Like that, I don't know. I can't teach that to you. I'm not going to be able to teach that to you. But what I can do is tell you that part of my job is scanning for content. Okay. Part of my job is digging for content. I have an hour a day on camera, and microphone. Okay. I have 3 or 4 articles during the off season that we go out on our si.com page. In season, it's almost 2 hours a day on camera, and it's almost 7 articles a day, because guess what? The news is there. Okay. Injury reports are there. Media availability is there. Kirby Smart comments are there. Radio hot takes are there. Dan Mullen saying some dumb stuff down there at Florida is there. Like during the season, it's going to create itself. During the season, there's too much to grab. During the season, I'm turning topics away, saying, nah, dude, go elsewhere. Right. So during the season, you're fine. Off season, man, it's getting better. Because we have recruiting during the spring, we have NFL Combine for a month, NFL Draft will hit well on Google for everything, all that stuff. So creating shots is something you're going to have to manufacture yourself. Being creative is the work. I'll put it this way. I'm a manager now of writers, and the worst thing somebody can ask me is, hey, Brooks, do you have anything I can write? How about bring me something you can write, brother? Like that's your job. That's you. That's on you. Because here's my thing as a manager, as an editor. If I tell you to go write something and I say, hey, go write that right now, it's on this topic, you're going to go, oh, well, okay. And if you're a good company man, you'll go over there and you'll bust your ass for it. But 90% of humans will look at that and go, okay, he wants me to do it, so I'll go over there and I'll do it. Whereas if you come to me and you say, boss, man, I got this story. You won't believe it, man. You won't believe this didn't happen, man. Like this guy went 8 for 7 or 8 for 9 last night, 7 threes, and had 18 free throws. Can you believe that? Look at that split. Doesn't make any sense. I want to go write this. Which article you think is going to be better? Right? Which article you think is going to be better? So if you ever have a manager, don't ever ask them, what can you write? Bring them 3 different articles and say, this is what I wrote. Which one do you like? Right? That mindset, that mind change is how you will become better at content creation. Again, I was thrown in the damn deep end and they said, go figure it out. Okay. Go run a website by yourself. We started out, I think in the first month, I think we did 18,000 page views. We'll do that in a 12-hour block nowadays. Okay. So we've grown. Okay. But it was like this, bro. It was not here to here. Right. Everyone calls me now. They're like, wow, dude, that happened fast. And I'm like, where were you at in 2018? I didn't hear none of y'all.
Would you also say that reflects passion from a writer too? I mean, if they're having trouble trying to track down a story, I mean, where, like, and from my outside looking in, like, where's your head at?
So for me, man, like, and look, I don't know what your teachers will tell you. And if someone's listening to this right now, I don't know their opinions. I know what I'm good at, and I know what my data says. My data says my readers stick around on my website for no longer than 2.5 minutes. So do you think I'm going to write some 4,000 word diatribe? You think I'm going to spend 3 weeks developing some beautiful, like biographical, informational piece of art? No. My reader, based 2.5 minutes. How many words can you read in 2.5 minutes? Because I know my dumb butt can get to about 1,000. About 1,000. Okay. That's it. It's 1, 2, 3, out. That's how users are, at least on my platform. I don't know about everybody else's, but that's how they are on mine. So I alter my strategy for that. The first time a writer comes to me and writes a 1,500 word article, if it's not just beautiful, okay, ready to be printed, I tell them immediately, like, hey, 1,500 words is great. 3 500 word articles is way better for my business. Again, journalism teachers, shoot me down. I apologize. I'm a master's in business administration. That is all I know. And I know that your customer is not sticking around for 4,000 words. They are not. They're not. So that's the way we go about it, which creates more of a pressurized strategy in terms of having to create content, right? But that's my burden. I put that on myself with my business strategy. That's on me. So I've gotten really, really good at manufacturing topics. I have the NFL Combine on right now. I've been peeping at it the whole time because as soon as George Pickens turns into 40, we're putting out an article, like immediately. So that's the way I do my business, man. And I'm not one of these. I will never win a writing award. I won't. But I will survive in this business for a long, long time. And I will make a name for myself for sure. That's for sure. So I don't know. I'm going to do it a different way than everyone tells you have to do it. But all of my income comes from the internet via journalism. Okay. There's no hard print in what I do. Okay. I don't draw I'm not on salary from anybody. My money and my lifestyle is directly tied to the impact and the impressions that I bring. And guess what? That statement right there is the definition and the byline of what it means to be in journalism today. How much money you can make on the internet. That's all that matters. Okay. That's it.
I love it. Well, man, I appreciate it. This was great. I learned a lot. I took some good notes. I feel like I'm a pretty good note taker. I was paying attention pretty well. No, I do appreciate it, man.
If you're big into notes, I will tell you this. I bought this back in Christmas time. It's called a Remarkable 2. Okay. It's a digital notepad. Okay. It literally writes like paper, but it saves it all in PDF format. Okay. And you can transfer it to your email. You can send them to different email addresses. You can even transcribe your text if your handwriting is good enough. So it's really, really good. I would invest in something like this if you're going to take a shitload of notes the rest of your life like I do.
Look at that. More advice for an up-and-comer like me. I appreciate it. But I appreciate it, man. This is, I'm going to end my assignment here. I'm going to just
click
this stop button right here.